Hey guys, May here. A store is born. Stor Wars. So what does that mean? So I'll just get straight into it. So I have told you in previous videos about occult knowledge, and one of the main tenets of occult knowledge going way back is, as far as linguistics and language, is is that the vowels, the vowel to the L's, five characters, five symbols, because they're just symbols, are interchangeable. A-E-I-O-U. So, so having said that, something has come to me recently that I've been writing down quite a bit in my books, in my pen to paper, um, cosmic messages, if you will. So anyway, so stars. Let's talk about stars for just a moment, right? Okay, stars. We look up in the sky. There's all these stars, um, right? Where do they go during the day? Well, they're still there, but they're only visible in the evening, right? The evening, Adam and evening, um, and that's by design, of course, of the machine, but of the simulation of the hologram. But we embody, we are the emanation, we are the same as the cosmos. And I think most of you at this point know this, have this knowledge. However, have you ever thought about the word star? Like, since we know that vowels are interchangeable, here's what I'm getting at. Store. Well, what does that mean, right? You're like, okay, and then what? So, store, star. Okay, here's where I'm going with this. Inside of the skull, you have the skull, okay? And I'm leading up to it, so bear with me. If your attention span can't handle, my segue, well, yeah, I understand. We're programmed. We're heavily multitasketed programmed to move quick, right? But I'm telling you, this is interesting. This is actually fascinating and mind-blowing if you can stay with it and understand it, which I know that you can. So, as I'm saying, the skull, right? And I tried to explain this to Rob the other night. He appeared to be somewhat inebriated, and as usual, he says, "Amen. When you give me these thoughts, it takes me some time to register and process. It's not so easy." So I felt like he got it, but I'm not so sure, but maybe you will. So the skull, okay, SKU-ll is in skull and bones, is in Freemasons, right? Why do they call it skull and bones? Well, one of the viewers commented about the bones be glowing, and that makes a lot of sense. It's an electrical energy in the bones, which when you realize that you are electrical, right? You are chemical compositions, electrical compositions. You're a combination of all of this, and inside of the ether, once you realize that, you can understand the bones glowing essentially. So they have this electrical energy. So the skull. What about the skull? Okay, inside the skull, is there not? Would you not say? Let me break this down. Would you not say that you process data inside of your brain mechanism, right? You process data. Okay. So then could you also say that you store data just in the same sense as a computer does, right? In the same sense as a type of any type of recording mechanism is recording, because you can replay previous events. You can play future events, right, in daydreaming. And so the brain, excuse me, is an amazing mechanism, and it stores data, lots of data, going way back. Now you may struggle if I say to you, what did you do in the summer when you were 14, right? Because we also trade out. As we get filled up with data storage, we also replace it, just like a computer. And so Store, okay? So star, store. Could it not be that stars hold data? Stars are a type of frequency. They're in the sky. They're waveforms. They're electric, and they are what you are. You like we've talked about. You orbed into here. You're a being of light, right? Electrical, ethereal, excuse me, light, right? Orbiting, which means just a circuitry, right? And spiraling around you and inside of you. You're made up of wires, are you not? So you store data in the skull. SKU, storage control unit. And that could trigger some people because, especially the religious or the spiritual, that doesn't mean you're not spiritual. You are so spiritual, but you must come to terms with the fact that you are a body inside of a spirit. I mean, you are housed inside of an avatar, inside of a robotic mechanism, right? Which is quite fascinating in and of itself. And as occult knowledge goes, it started with the brain, and the emanated directly correlating to the brain, right? And we can go over all that in another video. But for now, we're talking about stores and stars and storage, star ridge. Do you get what I'm saying when I say that? In other words, you store data. You are a star in the heaven, in the head, and in the heavens above you, in the macrocosm of you, which is emanating, projected from you. You also can see stars or stores because they store data. They absolutely do. And if you want to get technical, I mean, there's a lot of these people, like on Rob's channel, other channels, talking about the galaxy and Stor Wars, right? But couldn't it be exchanges of data and conflicts of data that are just reflections or projections emanating from the your system, from your solar system? Couldn't it be on a larger scale? I mean, that's some deep philosophy, some deep thought for you, because it makes a lot of sense. If you're projecting, right, and you are a star-based system, the body and the spirit surrounding you that extends several feet, and you are a solar system and a star-based system, and you store data in your SKU, storage control unit, LL. Isn't that interesting? LL. And then the double L we can do a whole video on the double L. So in the skull, in the house of consciousness, right? Where all lies in the skull, which is directly connected to consciousness. And excuse me, let me be more explicit with that. Consciousness appears to me to be something surrounding. It's more like the mind. It's the software, and the brain is the hardware. So there's obviously a connection between the two, and that it's a synergistic relationship. And the more you connect with that pineal and the colostrum is raised by way of the spinal cord up Jacob's ladder, right? And the more you pop eye, right, from the olive oil, which is colostrum, you experience these bursts of consciousness. But the pineal, once the pineal is activated, is as far as I can tell, is how that happens. It's how it ignites, if you will, by way of fire, by the ram, by Aries, the horns in the brain, right? You know that there are horns, Amon's horn. For amen, right, is in the brain. And that is in the skull. It's housed in the skull. But the consciousness that you have floating around right outside of you, that's the software. I believe there's been some sort of hijacking there, and that is what we want to alter and we want to activate, to raise, right? To raise the fire. That's what the occult knowledge means when they say baptism by fire. When we are little babies, we're baptized by water. John the Baptist, Aquarius. We are in the phase of Aquarius, right? You can say age, although time is just a wheel. You can say age, but we are in Aquarius, and given that is air, right? But he throws the water out of the cup in astrology. He throws the water. Aquarius is throwing the water, and that is symbolic. And that is, we are in the sign of air. I mean, we are in Saturn's, predominantly, or Uranus, if it's modern astrology. And so, not to get sidetracked, but I did need to point that out, because baptism by fire is higher than water. You've got the 4 elements, right? And the brain, the skull, the house, we want to essentially set on fire in a way. Because the stores are thoughts. They are thoughts. And what you want more and more of, now I know in meditation they say to eliminate all thought, right? Be still, be quiet, in your storage system, right? In your skull system, right? And be quiet and eliminate all thoughts. Because everything stems from thought form, even how you exist. I think it's really hard to do. I think that's really difficult for most people. But eventually it's the phase and the stage you want to get to as you raise more and more and more and more. But once we are activated with the pineal, once we are activated, then our consciousness is activated. We get more valuable knowledge. We start to inherit the ancient wisdom, the valuable knowledge to set us free, to set for a man in the brain free, essentially, in his tomb, right? And that's why there's chambers in the brain. That's why there's a bridegroom, there's a king, there's a queen. Yeah, research, goggle it if you go ahead. I mean, these are in the brain. These are in the mechanisms of the brain, the king and the queen's chambers. I didn't invent that. It's there. So, and you've got, what are they? They are G lands. They are glands. They are G lands. And you have a G constellation, right? And this stuff, man, I tell you what, it gets real technical, and it would take me hours and days, which is why it's good that I write it all down. But I have to stick to, and it's hard to do, because I know that I can trail off, because sometimes to explain one concept, you obviously must express several others to get to the main concept, which in this video is about the star and the store and the Stor Wars. Now, if you look at the word wars, it's also what? Mars. Because W and M are interchangeable. They are upside down. And it's mirrored lettering, and it is occult knowledge. And I could see that right away with the W's, and you can see it all the time with the W and the M. That is very interchangeable by design. So storing in the RAM, Star Wars, Storm, RAM, right? You have RAM in the brain. Do you not have memory in your brain? Of course you do. So hopefully you get what I'm saying. Storage, right? Star age. Are you in age as a human? Are you aged on your solar return, which is the sun, which is a star, right? Which is part of you. Are you not? Are you not in age, right? Yes. In this script, which we're all timeless, we're all the same age. If we want to be truthful about it, we're all the same. We're all the same age because we're timeless. So in this script, in this holographic field, we are in age, and they age stars, but stars are stores. They are stores of data. In the words of Led Zeppelin, she's buying a stairway to heaven. When she gets there, she knows the stores are all closed, because when she has climbed up Jacob's ladder, up to the skull, up over the hill, the data from what I can tell, the data is closed because you reach a point of freedom without thought. Now, I know that's a big concept. Can you imagine? Can you imagine how many funerals? I always say funeral because why is it sad? You know, but can you imagine how many funerals where they play Stairway to Heaven? It's gonna be endless. It has nothing to do with death. It has absolutely nothing to do with death. It's about a raising of consciousness. Led Zeppelin knew that. I'm sure Jimmy Page and Robert Plant knew that. You know. Were they intermingling with interdimensional beings? Maybe lower dimensional forces? Possibly. But it's still about the raising of consciousness. And that's occult knowledge. They know. I'm telling you now. They know. They know. So the they. So anyway, which is just an emanation of the EYE. So anyway, the stores are all closed because the stores are stars, which are data, and they are at the top of the hill, at the top of the base of the spine. You know, you're climbing, right? You encounter 3 glands, the pineal, the hypothalamus, and I may be saying that wrong. And I'm not going to stop and goggle it, but I mean, and then you've got the pituitary too, which sits right behind the 2 eyes, which are the pupils, which is the black pupils, black hole sun, which are essentially projecting this whole field, which feels like a very real experience. It materializes, and that's Saturn. And so Saturn is known for the black color, the color of black, right? So we can agree on that. So anyway, so you've got, when she gets there, she knows. And so then there's stars. You have stored data. And so are there a type of constellations in the brain? Of course. You can see the fornax and the fornix, you know, in the sky and in the brain. Is the sky a map of the brain, a map of the eye? Of course. The Who Man, it's the zoo. Look at the word zodiac. Oz, zoo, Z-O-O, Oz, zodiac, with all the constellations and the designs that they create in the sky. And that is essentially the Who Man. And it all ties in together. And once you start, you personally, I'm talking to you, once you start arcing that angle and start becoming receptive, because we are a receiver, we are programmed to receive in the word of Hotel California, right? And in the master's chambers, they gathered for the feast, right? And who were they trying to kill? The beast, right? So when you kill that beast inside of the brain, some say calcify, whatever. It's rolling away the stone. It's rolling away the stone. It's the rolling stone. It's rock and roll. And it is the emergence, the coming free of Amun Ra, setting Amun Ra free, the 4 Amen in the brain. And I know I'm getting technical here. You can research it all. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you right now, I have an anatomy book on the brain, a workbook. I mean, it's like a workbook. Do you know what I mean? It's a textbook. It's really interesting. But I just knew that I knew that the brain and the mind and the spirit, you know, all of this is occult knowledge. And I knew there was a connection in all literature, language, symbology of language, and music. Everything, right, is symbolic. What do they always say? Hidden in plain sight, right? It's right there. It's right there. So it just, you know, here's the thing. You will also receive these messages, and I know you will. They're like cloud bursts, right? You just get bursts of knowledge that come from, you're like, I'm not, what? You're just, you know, you hadn't thought of this before. This is, wow. This is, you know, and that's where the saying comes, blowing your mind. You want to lose your mind, if you will, in a sense. And that's when the stores are all closed. You see, because you see, they hold data, the stars, and you hold data. You have a recording system in the brain, and this is what I'm getting at: store age, star age. Now, if you want to add a T, not capitalized T, but if you want to add a T with the man with the head and spread out your arms, you've got star gate. You see that? You see that? Stargate, star age, storage of the data in the SKU, storage, control unit of the skull. How can this help you? It can help you tremendously. I know that this knowledge has helped me to better understand where I am and who I am, the who man, because it's all a mystery. It's all a mystery. But there are codes, even though they've been infiltrated. We know that. They've been corrupt. They've been infiltrated. And anyone, like I said in another video, anyone going against the men in black, or the people that I flew, the billionaires, the 1%, the people that I spent much of my career flying, Hollywood and all those, anyone going against them, and the Vatican in particular, I don't know how you're alive without being some type of psyop or controlled op. And I wonder if YouTube will not allow this video because I've said too much on that. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. It's worth the risk, I suppose. But anyway, the storage unit, SKU, yeah, this helps you for the manuscript, because the more you understand about the zodiac patterns, which is the who man, it's the avatar, and it's circling right around you too. The whole system is circling, orbiting right around you, extending several feet. That is not like crazy talk. It really is. It's a spirit. It's an aura. Do you not think you have an aura? I mean, do you not? But don't you see that that's your software and it's holding data? And so some would say it's even holding data of past lives, right? Reincarnation, right? But what about simultaneous incarnation, where you are only aware of this current simulation, but there's other ones going on that are just extensions of you, of the same consciousness? Is that not possible? If you're holding the data in the software system, can a computer hold data in a software system and a hardware system? Of course. But who's in charge of the software? Well, what I want to help you with is you can't change the hardware, right? We don't have on call a neurosurgeon who can crack that open, and he wouldn't see it anyway. I mean, sure, he would see the glands and stuff, but he wouldn't see what you were doing when you were 14. Do you get what I'm saying? But what we can help, and what we do want, is to arc the angle and to take control of the master's chambers, right? We fight off the beast and we take control of the master's chambers, and this is the pineal, and this is the activation, and it helps to understand. It helps to connect with the software residing right around the emanating the projection and the manuscript. And that's the whole idea, is this type of knowledge. But I just want you to see, to just give it some thought. It makes a lot of sense, right? The star and the store and the data and the SKU, and that was the topic. And I will conclude here in just a moment. But that is the topic of this little talk we're having. So you can tell me your thoughts on that, and I trust my cosmic messages, because it's just an element of me. It's just an aspect of me. It's not I'm hearing different people's voices or anything ridiculous. So not that I need to state that, but I want to make that very clear, that it is an aspect of my own higher consciousness. That's the higher self, right? And here's one more tidbit. The word history, the word history, high as in H, hangman, I, the man with his head, store, S-T-O-R, star, store, Y. Y and X are huge. Look at the word galaxy. Gala, event, X, Y. X and the Y. X is everywhere. X is in like 10. X is everywhere. X and Y is in the patriarchal, the male chromosomes, the brotherhood, right, if you will. But it's all supernatural. It all has tremendous meaning. I could literally talk to you for an hour on the X, and it's a Roman numeral of the 10, which is very Jesuit. It's very Vatican, but it goes way deeper than that. It's very supernatural, the X, and it's also inside of your brain. What, Aimee? What is she saying? There's an X in my brain. There is, and you have an X on the axis of your pupil, right? There's an axis. You have an axis. You spin, right, in an axis, but it's the axis is the who man. and you have an X as the two hemispheres cross. You want the right and the left hemispheres crossing. You have straight in between, and I believe that's the pineal stratus. I believe that's the parting of the Red Sea. So you want to gather in the master's chambers and to kill the beast. It's the pituitary, the pineal. It's a combination of it all, and it's meeting right in the middle of the two hemispheres, right? So when we are left hemisphere dominated, we are moon dominated, right? We are moon dominated by the left hemisphere, and the higher consciousness appears to be always sitting more at the right, a little bit tilted to the right side. So you've got to cross. That's the cross. Do you know what I mean? The crucifixion of the Who man. And there's way that that is not something I can sum up to you in just a few seconds or minutes. I need to, you know what I need to do? I need to create a PowerPoint. I write all this down, and I really think that I'm going to explain this more fluently in by way of it's just everyone's doing these silly boards online now. Everyone's got a chalkboard. So a chalkboard in a age-old British accent, and and they're yelling the words in your face. It's just so anyway. One last thing I want to say on that, the high story, right? It's the storage of data that creates this whole system, because we are in a type of disk, a type of recording system, and that's why there's loops here. That's why you have loops of lyrics in your brain. You play the same, and they sing. That's why they play the same lyrics or lines repeatedly. So it sticks, right? And it's over and over. So you're in a type of loop or a wheel, the zodiacal wheel, the clock, right? It's implemented here. The zodiac, as much as I like to come to you about the zodiac, I do it from an angle, if you will, of being more helpful to you, for you to understand patterns in this quantum-based field. So that is my angle with that. As the zodiac is a type of computing system. It's a code. It's all codes, right? Encoded here, recorded here, right? So it's so hard to expand on that just briefly without, or excuse me, to express that without expanding I could go on for hours. So I wanted to keep this more simple and straight and to the point, but the storage in the skull, the SKU-ll was the point, and the high story, it's because it's a database system. And this can help you to understand the mechanisms of the brain, and to better help you understand the higher mind, which you are wanting to connect to by way of, and the spirit, the sprite, the electrical energy, that sprite. And the more knowledge you have, the more empowered you are against the system, which are really just the lower dimensional forces emanating out of you. I mean, if you were to sit, side note before I conclude, if you were to sit and jump down rabbit holes, endlessly on mud floods and Bigfoot and space aliens and UFOs, okay. But here's the thing. When you better understand that it's all coming from or emanating outside of you, or coming from its inner space and not outer space, when you start understanding the internal, you start understanding more the external, if that makes sense. I hope it does. So that's what I'm getting at. I'm saying I'm not sure that the higher mind or the higher self wants more, Bigfoot and mud floods. I don't know. Maybe Tartaria, which Tartaria, as far as I can tell, is just a layer of a different frequency. It's a layer of consciousness, an elevated consciousness. And this is one thing that lacks here. I will say this. It's a very dense field in which we exist, in which we experience this file-based system. It's very dense here. We're on a lower frequency. It's a dense field. And the thing is you have to find beauty. Like, I will tell you that I paint I paint a lot. I mean, I'm an artist. I'm a painter, and so this is so essential to my experience here, to my human experience. Is painting and art. We have to find beauty, in architecture, in art. And isn't it interesting? I find it very interesting that the most beautiful art, like downtowns in the cities and in Europe, they're concentrated in cities, and they're often, I mean, you can find them here in the U.S., but man, they're so amazing in the East, aren't they? And isn't that interesting how we have the left and the right sides of the hemispheres of the brain? And then you've got the East and the West. And there's always Stor Wars going on with the East and the West. You know what I'm saying? Like Iran spells rain, and that's not about actual water. They're all about elements, and it's all about layers of consciousness. That's the inner space. And I'll stop there. I feel like I gave you so much today. I was on fire as usual. That term actually makes sense, to be on fire, doesn't it? It's when our consciousness is exploding, when we're on fire. And that's the pyramid deep inside of the brain. So I have so much to, sometimes I don't know where to start, where to begin and where to end. But more in the next one. And so I love to see your thoughts on stars and stores and on the SKU-ll, the houses of consciousness, house of the zodiac, houses of the brain, right? Right? The doors, the portals, right? Look at the word door. It's actually odor, right? This is one last thought I'm going to say. One last braingasm. When Dorothy enters, when she's in the Wizard of Oz, when she's entered the Technicolor world, right? What I can tell is that she's entered the world of Uranus, which is air, which is consciousness. Because what does Glinda the Good Witch say to her? Oh, I smell sulfur. Well, what comes from sulfur? It's I mean, that's a smell of Uranus, which is just consciousness. It's just an air-based, right? Bow to the L. If we want to get to, we can make a joke out of it too. I'll stop there. So anyway, that's the point. Odor, door. We've got the five senses. We're limited to the five senses. But what you can't see is all around you. You know what I'm saying? The grid or the system, the true grid, is not what we see. But I believe that we will gain more and more access. I tell you what, I see a lot of interesting things deep inside of my third eye. That I really, honestly, and this is true. You can research that. The more you expand that third eye, the single eye, let the light of thy single eye be thy body, which is astrotheology, which the Bible is a great. It's a coded book. It's a coded system about the mechanisms of the human, the brain, and the zodiac. That's all it is. Why it's got 12 disciples, right? More on that in another one. Especially when the moon she's full, right? I need that Humpty Dumpty to dump that hump, because she charges me up so much, and I have so much to tell you, and never enough time. So I will give you more in the next one. But really, truly, I love to see your thoughts. I think you're all amazing, and you're all brilliant minds, and I love having like-minded individuals on here expressing these thoughts, and I love to see them. And more in the next one, and I've got some zodiac videos coming up. Okay, thanks, guys. Thanks for listening.